Hello, quest givers. Let's talk death and taxes. Freaking awesome module, first and foremost. The choices that you gave, very direct, very, if this happens, do this. If they don't do this, go do this. And you give variants of what the party could do or what they don't do and what can happen because of those circumstances or repercussions of what they did. So I had a few things that while I was preparing for this module with my people that came to mind. First, something that was very major to the 5e was backgrounds.
Do you have any questions for quest givers? Become a tavern regular by asking a question using video on social media. New modules will be available on the 1st of every month on questgivers.com with the complete campaign Kickstarter launching September 1st. You're sure to get hooked on adventure.
How would you handle backgrounds of your players in this scenario? So let's say one of your players were from Southwood, or maybe one of your players were a former soldier on the war front in the North War. Or what about the Swords of Honor as a background? How would you handle those situations, or would you even allow them? And would you even allow them to be from this main city that you start in? I don't think I would allow that, just because the way you kind of unveil it makes it more mysterious and more fun, and it sinks the players into that atmosphere. And I wouldn't want them to know that up front, any of that stuff.
Thank you to PJ from Roll for Damage, who sent in this video question through our Facebook page. Scotty, a very interesting first question. What do you think? Backgrounds in D&D, how do we use them in Death and Taxes?
There's a lot of things you could do with the kind of backgrounds in D&D. I think it's kind of up to how you want to do it for your campaign, right? Now, you mentioned you like that mystery of the module, which is really cool. So you may want to have these people literally like stepping off the boat into a whole new situation. And I really like that idea. And I think that this module has a lot of strength in that kind of thing. But if you want to integrate them more in the campaign, like they're coming home or they're from other places in the world, we are releasing a background document on the society. But yeah, you could, basically you should just use the regular D&D backgrounds because they have, you're just kind of an occupation, right? You could say you were a soldier from, say, up north, or you were a guard from Southwood, or you were someone in the guild, or something like that. Whatever kind of background that you wanted to do, you could very well integrate that into the game easily. And there is a thing on Dungeon Masters Guild, which I recommend, which is a great piece of work. It's called Improved Backgrounds, and I use it in my own games, and it has a lot more backgrounds that are included in the player's handbook, and it has a little bit different system for integrating those in the game itself, and I highly recommend that. So we'll have the link below this video if you want to check that out. But yeah, I think it could really go either way. It's how you feel you want to run it. I think I might do the mystery part because I really like that mystery about it. It's fun discovering new things. But yeah, definitely if you want to integrate this into your campaign, just kind of use those standard backgrounds, but say they're from this location and this location, and maybe give your players a little bit of extra information about those locations.
Yeah, look, the thing when you're integrating your backgrounds into characters and they are from this area, if you don't have the future modules, you're working off incomplete information. So I'm going to give a spoiler here for the next module that's coming out, but it's implied in the next module that there are no Northern Wars. So they wouldn't have fought in the Northern Wars. So that's integral to the actual plot of what happens in the second module. And so if they were part of these Northern Wars, they would, that would be a huge problem to your game. And as Scotty said, the mystery of it, if you're playing these modules, you don't know as the DM, you don't know what's going to be happening next. I like that as a DM. I like that. Some people don't, and so they may want to wait longer for more modules to come out. But, you know, you get, as I said in one of the previous videos, when we were writing this, it was very much about, we wanted the DM to have that sort of player discovery experience. And as each new module comes out, you're going to get more and more little bits of information about the society and the story that's going ahead. So we did include in the first one that if the characters were from this area, that they'd have certain pieces of information. But we didn't really go into depth on that, because most of the time people will have characters that are more generic, that have come from another place. And so if you wanted to integrate something from their background, you could have something like a relative had come here and they're looking for that relative. That relative had traveled to this land. And they're on the path and they're going to follow the North Road to find this relative. And the relative could be in the final module, which is the White Castle. So if you wanted to integrate something like that, that's great. If they're looking for a specific item, maybe a family heirloom or something like that, that was sold to a trader and it's somehow been, you know, arrived in this land, again, you can use that and put that in later modules for the character to find. There's lots of cool things coming up, like, you know, tombs and, you know, wandering around in the mountains and things like that, which are really going to give you places to drop this kind of thing in to satisfy that background. So rather use things like that as a people or objects rather than places, and that's going to help you a lot more, I think.
How would you handle the magic surge that the wizard weed gives? Would that be like a plus 2 or a +1 to the outcome of their magic casting, or would you be like a 1d4, or would you just maybe, depending on how much was consumed, cast it as like a higher spell slot?
So we mentioned the wizard weed in the module, right? And it's a cool little thing that people get addicted to, but it also can enhance your magical abilities, which is really cool, right? So he was asking, how would I integrate that mechanically in the game? And I think a cool idea would be to use the wild magic table for their sorcerer, right? And what I would do is, I would just do kind of when they start smoking it, I would do the standard roll on the table, like if you roll a 1 on a d20, something happens, right? But you know, as they progress through the modules, make the roll another die. So as they get more, as they use it more and more through the campaign, maybe finally by the end they're using a D4, and on a 1 they roll on the wild magic table, right? But then progressively give them bonuses, you know, for their magic. So maybe start with a +1, and then, you know, maybe a +2, and that kind of thing. And you could actually increase it as the die, you know, as the wild magic becomes more and more of a chance that could happen. So I think that'd be a cool little D&D mechanic you could use for the wizard weed. And then also remember, you know, use the rules of addiction. You know, you could use those rules for addiction also, because it's highly addictive. It's highly addictive, and they could end up with a very big problem on their hands.
It's going to get worse and worse and worse. And one of the things that I think you could also do is look at other games. So let's take Dungeon Crawl Classics as an example. They've got a great little magic system where, you know, random things start to happen when you're casting spells. So you could actually integrate rules from another game into D&D and utilize those. So we haven't spelled out in the module what you should do, because we want you to be creative with, you know, with what it is. So what we say is not what it should be, it's what you want it to be and what you think your table is going to react to. So there's lots of different ways of manipulating the way that the magic system works. You could, as you said, give more spell slots. You could make the damage more powerful if it's a damaging spell. It has to be cool, but then it also has to be detrimental. And as Scotty said, you know, on the wild magic table, if you're giving them smaller and smaller and smaller dice, you know, it becomes more and more powerful. But you then also need to have that it's going to chew up more and more of their spell slots, and eventually they can cast like 1 spell a day that's super powerful, but then they're screwed, and then maybe they're losing hit points, or you can kind of design ahead as to what what you want the effect of this to be.
Oh, totally. Yeah, you can play with it in all kinds of ways. So yeah, don't be limited by that. But yeah, just those are some ideas from us that you could do to do that kind of effect in game.
When they get to the crypt, how would you handle the town people knowing after what transpires there is done? But let's say they tackled that first. How would you handle it if rumors got out of what happened, and the town's guard knew, or the townsfolk, the women, the men, whatever? How would y'all handle that?
In the module, there's a temple, and if you ask the right questions or the wrong questions, you end up being teleported into the crypt, and you find the real guise of the priestess and what she's been up to underneath the temple. And so he asks, obviously, when you dispatch of this priestess, how does the town react to this? Now, we didn't put it in there for a very specific reason, because we probably didn't think of it. And this is why we like the community involvement, and we like people asking these kinds of questions. And we are actually going to be putting out a quick quest that's going to further the crypt. And we may answer some of those questions in there. And thank you for asking, PJ, because you're going to add more into that content for us. So I think one of the key things is, if you're a foreigner in a foreign land and you think you've broken some kind of rule or whatever, you're probably going to keep your mouth shut. I think that way the first natural reaction to it is, you're not going to go around town going, "Oi, we killed the priestess." You may not be doing that, but some players and some characters would be all about that. And you've got to then think about the reaction of the townspeople. And I think the natural reaction from this society would be one of extreme skepticism, because this is a person who's been in their culture for many years, who's been helping them and giving them advice, and has been seemingly good for the community. Little do they know that all this other bad crap was happening, and that the priestess is somehow involved in all the bad things that are going on. And so I would play the skepticism card, and they wouldn't really believe them, and they would struggle to believe that there's... And part of that sort of suspension of disbelief that the people would feel is they probably wouldn't want to go and investigate this. They're too busy, taking care of their tax situation. They're too stressed about the tax collector arriving that no one really has the time or the inclination to actually go and verify your story. So yeah, I think that's... What do you think, Scotty? Would you feel that there's another way that it could be handled?
I pretty much agree with you, Gareth, on that. I don't think the people would agree, that this woman was evil. It's like they would be like, what, and because like you say, she's helped them out and that kind of thing. But I think it'd be really fun in the game to play that out. Like, that could be really fun, and it'd be frustrating for the players that no one will believe them, but it could be really fun, RPG wise, because usually it's like the heroes come in and like, oh, we have to save the day, and everybody, they're all heroes and flowers, and they all believe everything they say. Well, that's not going to necessarily be the case. That's not going to be the case. And it's like, what? We're the heroes. Why would you believe us? And so it's going to... I think it's going to bring them down a notch, bring them down a little bit, and also realize that they're in a different society that may not operate, the way they expect.
One of our things we do, which you would have noticed, is we subvert expectations. There's, as Scotty said, the players usually expect good things to happen for all their good deeds, and you're subverting their expectation by going in a different direction. You don't want it to be a point of you're just doing it to irritate them. You want it to be that this is how the world functions. This is how the society actually works, and that they're actually learning from this experience. And I think that's important. Once the characters realize, or the players realize through their characters, that this is just how the society is going to react to these kind of things, they're so sort of stuck in their way of thinking and their way of doing things that they couldn't possibly believe that, you know, something like this could have actually gone on in their small village. Subverting their expectations is helping to kind of put more thematic energy and creative energy into the game. The players will have to now rethink what they're doing, you know, how they're helping these people. You know, if you're going to liberate someone from a tyranny, do they know that they're actually under a tyranny? You'll notice that some of the characters that you talk to and some of the random people that you hear talking about, there's kind of this undercurrent of people who are for and people who are against. And this gets played out more so in the Loyalists, which is the next module. You know, you as the DM will have to, the whole thing is about choice in the second module, and you'll have to then basically be presenting all these choices. They're going to have to make a choice between one side or the other in order to continue along. And that choice will be a difficult one because you're dealing with incomplete information. As is most decisions in life, you're never going to have complete information. So, you know, this helps to keep the story going. They want to find out more. They're investing more into this world as they continue on in the modules.
So these are some of my questions that I have. I have plenty more, but I'll direct message all those because I don't want to give too much away. But awesome job. Can't wait for the second module to release. It was so much fun. First, awesome. So much fun. It was a lot more grotesque than I was anticipating. But in a fun way, you know, not so much gore or anything like that, but just the way you painted some of these high profile characters. Like, you just let your imaginations run wild, and it was fantastic. Anyway, guys, thank y'all for this. This was super fun, super amazing. I cannot wait to run this with my party, and I'm looking forward to your replies to my questions. So, till next time, I'm out.
Thank you, PJ, for the great first question to our Tavern Regulars segment. If you would like to ask a question that we will answer in a video like this, please supply us one on social media. We will try to respond to you as quickly as possible. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in the next video.
See you then, guys.